All right, three, two, one. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the Pine Tar Podcast. I am Jeff Ruprecht, founder and designer at Pine Tar Clothing Company, where we're celebrating the hustle and heart of baseball. And this week, we have a special guest, someone that I met, quote unquote, virtually met through an Instagram DM last fall, and found out he had actually purchased some stuff from me earlier, and then we kind of got together. But you may have seen him already on the internet, and I love his work and what he's doing. His name is Jim Tucker with Tucker Talks Turf. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about just baseball and his path and what he celebrates and what he's teaching his kids about the hustle and heart of the game, and see what he's up to. So welcome, Jim. Nice to see you. Finally.
Jeff, I am stoked to be on the Pine Tar podcast. I'm a podcaster myself, but I deal in professional wrestling. So for me to put on a headset and talk about my daily 24/7 type of passion, I'm stoked to be here, and I appreciate you for having me.
Well, I'm really excited that you said yes to come on as my first ever guest. And maybe we can talk more in the future. That'd be really cool too.
Absolutely.
I figured it was probably time to have someone on and not just me blabbing on about my own personal baseball life. But I'm so excited. So real quick, tell everyone where you're at in the world as far as like.
So I'm a high school baseball coach in northern Nevada. So you would fly into the Reno airport to get to me, and then you drive about 50 minutes south. So I live in a little town called Gardnerville, Nevada, and I'm an English teacher in my 12th year of teaching English. I'm in my third year as a varsity head coach at Douglas High School here in Minden, Nevada. And I love it out here. Baseball is much different than in the Midwest. The weather is as temperamental. But yeah, my wife and I moved out here in 2021, July of 2021. So this is my 5th year teaching out here, coaching. And then, we just welcomed our first child, August. He's 2 years old now. So we moved out here. I now teach and coach at the high school that my wife Mista graduated from. Go Tigers, Douglas High School. So I love it. I love it out here. So I grew up in Northwest Indiana, about a half hour from Chicago, and now I live in Northern Nevada, less than a half hour from Lake Tahoe. So one awesome place in Chicago, and then to another like wonder of the world at Lake Tahoe. So I have been blessed for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen through some of your content that like you see snow on the ground, and I'm like, hey, I can relate. So, I'm in northern Minnesota, and as you can about imagine, for kids and for folks that are trying to play baseball in the spring here, it's also very difficult.
Oh yeah, and for us, like we didn't get snow all winter, and then we got 8 inches of snow the third day of practice, and so it's weird because living in the valley, Lake Tahoe will get, when we got 8 inches, Lake Tahoe got 4 feet. So we are less than a half hour away, but thousands of feet lower in elevation. We're at about 4,500 feet. So last year we got 4 inches of snow March 31st, like right in the middle of our season, and it was gone in 2 days because the temps in between were up to 60 or 65. And that is the Midwest if I've ever seen it. It'll be snow in one day, and then you get sunburnt outside the next. So many coaches can relate to that.
Well, I'm happy because the high school, like my son, so my boys are now at a high school and stuff, but the town that I live in and they played for at their high school, for years they had a beautiful dirt field, but over the years it started kind of needed some help and this and that, and it started to take on water, and everyone's like, we need turf. As much as I hate turf, I would say I hate turf, but for here it's kind of needed, with the spring.
Absolutely.
And of course, my kids get through school and then they put the field in. They opened it last year. It's beautiful. they actually got to play a lot of home games. Where in years past, we would have to travel to, I don't know if you know where International Falls, Minnesota is. It's up on the
Mm.
Canadian border. It's kind of sometimes called the ice box of America.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And they're in our conference, but every other year we would travel because it's a 3 hour drive for where we're at.
Uh, yeah.
And we would do home games in I Falls because our field would not be ready, but theirs would be
Yeah.
for whatever
I
reason.
have I've got the same story. I went to Chicago State University. So 2009 to 2013. I redshirted my third year with Tommy John surgery. I had Tommy
Okay.
John surgery, and then I was able to pitch 2 years after that. And during my fifth year, they announced that they're getting a brand new $3 million turf stadium with lights and the whole caboose. And I was able to take the team picture on it for my senior year, and then brand new $3 million field the very next year, and then within let's see, that would have been within 8 years, they canceled the baseball program. And so now that beautiful $3 million turf field is now a practice soccer field. And I got to tell you, Jeff, if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, we want to turf your entire field," me being the grass guy and Tucker Talks Turf, I still might say yes. Because you can't put a dollar amount on the time. And so it would definitely
Right.
give me a lot of time back with my family and friends and things like that. It would make it a lot easier. But while I have natural grass, we're going to talk turf on it nearly every day and try to improve our program.
Yeah, well, I was just going to bring that up as I've really enjoyed because I grew up obviously well, like I said, we had a grass field and stuff here for forever. And where I grew up, I actually grew up in the central part of Minnesota, and I don't know if you know, a lot of people don't know this. I think I've talked about it in other videos before, but outside of some great college programs and high school programs in the middle and southern part of the state of Minnesota, which everyone thinks about hockey and stuff, which of course we are the state of hockey, but believe it or not, we have a lot of really good baseball players that have come out of Minnesota with our limited season. But one thing that's really unique that some people don't even maybe know is that we for over 100 years now, there's this amateur leagues that between the based from like the central part of this, there's a few up here, but mostly like the central part where I grew up to the southern part of the state.
Hmm.
Every summer, every little town, every little farm town has their own amateur team. So these are guys between like 18 and I remember when I played, when I was in college, I played for our local team. We had a guy that was in his 40s still pitching, you know.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was the coolest thing, you know, and it's been going on for 100 years. We call it town ball. And
Hmm.
like every little town has a team, and it's just amazing. But what I'm going with this is the fact that they all have some amazing dirt fields that they're still keeping up to this day. And in fact, the town that I played in, it's one I have to send you some pictures. It's there's a guy
Please.
that his name is Pete Schlepper, and I don't
Hmm.
know if he'll ever watch this, but if he does, I'm calling him out right now. The guy one year decided I'm going to fix this field, and it's now one of the nicest fields in the state of Minnesota. It is like a major, like you walk on it, it's like you're afraid to like even play on it. It's so nice.
Hmm.
It's almost
Yeah.
too nice, right?
Hmm.
It's all dirt. It's amazing, you know. So when
I
I see
love it.
your videos, I am always just like, what does he got today? Because I'm eating that stuff up because I remember having to help out, getting the field ready and before and after games and all those things, growing up and not just playing the game but living it.
Yeah, and I that's what makes baseball unique, man. You're a basketball player, you might pick up garbage from the bleachers, but you're not investing into the field.
Yeah,
Football, not a ton to do for the actual football player, but when you think about softball and baseball, I try to communicate to our program, I've never played a championship level program with a home field that is terrible.
yeah,
And so I think your ball field, your ballpark is a way to communicate to anybody that shows up. It's a potential recruiting pitch to a guy that may be considering your field or program or something like that. And for me, I cared about taking care of the mound because I was going to be pitching on it, right? And
right.
so I think there's a lot of overlap in caring for your field or doing the thing you're being told to do by your coach for your field that it can't be found in other sports, and all sports are awesome. We love multi-sport athletes, but the quarterback is not really worried about the 20-yard line. Like basketball
Right.
players don't
Right.
clay the free throw lines.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is a special kind of blue collar aspect. And with Pine Tar specifically, the heart and hustle of the game. Like
Yeah.
if you hustle at your field, and you've seen from the channel, you don't need thousands or tons of money to get straight lines on your edges, to make sure the grass is cut, and getting the water down, right? It's a
Yeah.
lot of simple plug and play. But when I was thinking of the channel and you see groundskeepers online, it's a lot of pro guys with a lot of really expensive equipment.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, what about a dude that has time and effort but doesn't know really where to start? And I thought I could bring some value, and so far we're off to a good start.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really I think I enjoy that part of it that I mean like I one of the ones that I it's funny I actually might try this on my dirt driveway but you
Hmm.
had made your drag out of nails and how you weighed it
Hmm.
down and how it would break up your infield so you could rake it out and I'm like yeah sometimes you just got to get a little innovation going to
Yeah.
problem you don't need like you said you don't
And
need to have expensive stuff to do some things.
right. And like, I'm not going to turn down a brand or a partner that wants to give us all the fancy, expensive,
Sure.
shiny things.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I'm going to go to Home Depot and get some 40 penny nails and drive them into a 2x4.
Yeah.
And, that nail drag has held up. And it's funny, you could tell I'm an English teacher because I bought enough nails to make 3 rows on that nail drag. And I only ended up with two because my math was off. And so I love numbers as a baseball coach. I love stats, data, and metrics, but I love programs that put all of that together. And Tucker Talks Turf is for the person that wants to help their program and wants to improve their facility and may not have access to all kinds of stuff. And so we started Tucker Talks Turf as a way to try to improve our program, return value to brands, probably beyond, we always say beyond what a banner on the outfield wall would do, because at the ballpark, our sponsor banners are very regional and very local and very centralized. And so me doing a video on the local hardware store or something like that's not going to have a ton of traction, but also big brands, or even brands like Pine Tar from all the way in Wisconsin, like that, I can do a video and I can kind of be goofy, and I'm willing to embarrass myself for the sake of the program if I look goofy, or I am a goofball. But ultimately, I'm trying to improve our program and give brands an opportunity to invest in an entire community. We've got over 80 athletes in our baseball program, and when I took over, there we just had the high school team, and now we're down to 9U. So there's been a ton of growth for sure.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's just kind of crazy how, because to your point, like, there's a lot of great content creators doing baseball stuff and other little small brands, and, I've met a lot myself just doing this as Pine Tar Clothing, like a couple years ago, we were at the College World Series. We got
Hmm.
the chance to do that and that, I want to go back. It's just, I found though that first year it takes a lot of money to go there for 2 weeks with a lot of product.
Mm.
So I learned a lot the first year. I want to go back. They invited me back. I said I might have to wait a couple years and kind of figure this out again. But what I'm getting at is to your point, like how we met and how some of the other content creators that I'm finding, like Ball Players Bomb, which I know you guys have worked
Mhm.
with Benji.
Yep.
I met him down at the World Series. A great guy, great product. I don't know if you've ever met Jeremy Mitchell at Mitchell Bat Company. He's out of
Mm.
Nashville.
No, but he'll probably be getting a DM tonight.
You should check him out. His story is really cool too. How he makes artisan bats, so they're not necessarily.
Mm.
I mean, you could play with them, but they're more for giving as a gift to a coach. Or
Hmm.
he works with a lot of colleges and stuff now as some NIL stuff where they'll sell bats with players' names on it, and then some of the proceeds goes to
Yeah.
their NIL program. Um,
It would go perfectly behind you in your
right.
out.
Well,
Is
him
that
and I
your
have
man
talked.
cave? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he reached out. He reached out with that year because I've been a fan of his before even all this because I had seen him and because he's a designer or has a designer marketing background like I do and And so I just loved his story. And then one day when I was at the College World Series, I get this DM and it's him. And he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. I want to meet you." And I'm like, "What, me?
Mhm.
I want to meet you,
Yeah.
you know?" But it's
Yeah.
cool because there's so many little brands and other types of content creators and stuff out there that are talking about baseball and their love of it at all the different levels. And it's just a great melting pot of ideas and people, you know? So
Hmm.
that's great. So tell me more about what's kind of your philosophy when you're talking about coaching your kids, and what are the things that I mean, obviously you're putting in the dirt side of stuff in how you're taking care of your field, but I would also think that a lot of that mindset probably goes well with what you're probably teaching your kids.
Well, so my coaching philosophy and the reason I continue to coach essentially boils down to four people. Okay. So growing up, I grew up in Northwest Indiana. I have a Gary, Indiana mailing address. So I lived in Calumet Township, but I do pull out the Gary, Indiana mailing address if I need to sound tough or if I need to sound like a gangster.
Yeah.
But growing up in Northwest Indiana, my dad and my uncle. So my dad, also named Jeff, brother, also named Jeff. I've never met a Jeff that's not a great guy.
Thank you.
But my dad Jeff and my uncle Keith, growing up, I mean, I played baseball for years without realizing I was practicing because, and my dad, blue collar, worked at a grocery store his whole life, produce manager. He two things he instilled in me, like hard work pays off and please find a job you'll love. Please find a job that you'll enjoy. He wasn't thrilled about getting out of bed and going to work every morning. My dad was a huge musician in band and percussion and was an absolute demon on the drum set. And my uncle was the athlete. And so I didn't want to be like my dad. I wanted to be like my uncle. He was cool. There are many bodybuilding trophies and things like that. So I went that way. My brother went towards the music. So, but my dad and my uncle, days and days and days. My dad would get home from work. Hey, you want to go? You want to go to the ball field? You want to go to the park? You want to go to the ball field? I didn't realize I was practicing. I was like spending great quality time with my dad, like working hard, sweating it out. And my uncle, the two of them got my love for baseball started, and then it trickles up to two other people. And so I played high school baseball in a program that was not great. So like I tell people now, I'm trying to create the program I would have died to be in when I was in high school. But I was part of an amazing summer program, the Hammond Chiefs. Um, 34 years, so many state titles, the 2003 Babe Ruth World Series champions. And they were coached and led by Dave Sikowski, nicknamed Bush. And he's on the Tucker Talks Turf channel. I nabbed him for a video at the ABCA conference, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Coach Sikowski instilled in me like the love for the field. He was in charge of Riverside Park, which is a public park in Hammond, Indiana, that let the Chiefs play. And they said, you can use the park as long as you take care of it. And Coach Sikowski said, absolutely. Beautiful field, well groomed. And that was where I learned the cadence of field prep and field routine and having pride, because when you walked, it was beautiful, your parking lot, you walked down the hill to the field. So it had this kind of this entrance to it, like some of the greatest ballparks we can think of. And he worked his butt off. There was no in-ground sprinklers. He moved sprinklers 4 times a week to make sure the grass had water. And that was like stripes. My love for stripes comes from Riverside Park and Coach Sikowski. And from Coach Sikowski, I learned the importance of discipline and routine. You're 15 minutes early to everything. You're communicating all the time, and the details matter. And so between Coach Sikowski, my dad, and my uncle, those were the three that began my Mount Rushmore. And when I was in college, I became obsessed with Augie Garrido, the former winningest NCAA coach, most known for his time at the University of Texas. My son's name is August, and his nickname is Augie. And so, and from Coach Garrido, it was the idea that baseball is just a reflection of life. Baseball gives you the opportunity to become the person you want to be immediately when the umpire yells play ball. You can be who you wish, desire, and it is a reflection of life. And so those four guys, as I grew up, really made me value baseball and the game. And so when it comes to my coaching philosophy, I think the thing that matters most to me is who these kids and these boys, these athletes, these young men are going to become when they're 25, 30, 35, and 40. And so when I think of my coaching staff, I'm the second youngest coach on my coaching staff, and I'm the varsity head coach, which is such a blessing for me because that means I'm surrounded by years of wisdom. And so my coaching philosophy, I'm the only teacher on staff. We have 12 coaches in the program, and all of them have other jobs. But all of these great men are serving their community in one way or another.
Right.
Retired fireman, retired DA, retired landscaper. Like they're finding ways to serve their community. And so baseball, I believe, and baseball at Douglas High School prepares the guys for life. And we've really worked hard to build all the infrastructure to give them an opportunity to be recruited. The first school in the state with the Aware Sports 6 camera system, Rapsodo, all the big like bumper sticker baseball things, we've got them. But I hope that my coaching legacy is going to be left with a packed funeral home, and so I try to tell them every interaction you have, even if it's with an umpire that made a disagreement or a player from another team, like I'm selling tickets to my funeral, and
Yeah.
hopefully over time I'm leaving a legacy. And it's not going to be with my wins and losses. It's not going to be my win-loss record. I hope that the boys will remember and remember Douglas High School as the place that they learned to become a man. And that means, like, what, in my opinion, like being able to show up on time, communicate, admit fault, the Douglas way at the high school, be respectful, honest, willing, and kind. Like
Yeah.
if we're doing those four things, if you're respectful, honest, willing, and kind, you're not going to be on your deathbed wishing you were doing the opposite. I
Yeah.
wish I lied more. I wish
Yeah.
was more
Right.
dishonest and more. And so for
Half
me,
the battle.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to. We're certainly trying to open doors for these guys to go to college. In the first 2 years, we've sent 8 players to the college level. We've got three more. We've only got three seniors this year, but all three will be playing at college, and so we certainly want to give them that path. But we hope that Douglas High School is known for just being an absolute good dude factory. That
Mm.
when you're done with Douglas baseball, you know you got a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that's, my I was never a varsity baseball coach. I coached, younger youth, until they were like 14. But, I there too, as much as I tried to, give them all the tools where they could play together and hopefully win some ball games together and and do all those fun things. But yeah, at the end of the day, you just want them to be good people. You want them to know do the right thing. One of my biggest thing, and this is one thing maybe my kids still give me crap about is I used to tell them like when we leave this dugout, it's gonna look cleaner than when we got here. Because there's how many
Hmm.
times I've gone to a dugout out in like in a tournament and there's just junk and stuff, and you're like, come
Hmm.
on, what are we doing here, people?
How
Right?
you do anything is how you do everything.
Exactly,
Mhm.
right? And so no, I love to hear that. I love to hear that. So you were talking before about, obviously the kind of where you are in the world with Nevada. Like, is there? Do you guys have to travel far for a lot of your games? Do you have enough little time? I don't know enough about the geography, I guess. I know up here, northern part of the state, we have a lot of like closer schools, so like we can play locally. But then like anything
Mhm.
beyond that, we have to travel pretty good too. So is that something that you guys have to do a lot, or and if you are like is that just everyone knows that's what we do, or is it like a kind of getting prepared for all this? Like what does that take to travel and play? Because that's not always easy.
Yeah, I was a varsity coach for 5 years in Indiana, and that is a much different setup. So in Indiana, you don't leave school early. Games start at 4:30. In Northwest Indiana, you had 25 schools within a half hour. You left at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. You'd get to the game 4:30 start. You didn't really have to travel, but you could if your team could afford it. And then in Nevada, it's way different. Like yesterday, we had a 3 o'clock game, 3 p.m. So our students were dismissed early from class. We left at 12:15 for an hour and a half drive to a team that they're not in our league. So it was a non-league game, but hour and a half is not uncommon for our commutes and travel. And so our closest school's 30 minutes away. And then so we have with Nevada, we have a 10-team league in the north. There's 10 5A schools. We play every team twice with a home and away. You get 21 total games and 2 tournaments. So our 2 tournaments this year, this is much different than my experience in Indiana. We just got back from our first tournament. We flew down to Las Vegas, got in vans and drove an hour and 10 minutes west to a town called Pahrump, Nevada. You don't need to put it on your bucket list. Played 4 games, drove the vans back, flew back, and then bussed back to the school.
Wow.
And then in a couple weeks, we're hopping on a plane to fly to Long Beach to go to, and I'm doing a video, the Anaheim Lions tournament, 70 schools,
Wow.
70 plus schools from like 13 different states. We play Downers Grove South from Illinois, which is funny because I'm an Indiana dude coaching in Nevada, going to California to play a school from Illinois. But there's costs to that, and that was a
Yeah.
huge reason why I started Tucker Talks Turf that we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But our games start at 3:45 normally. We get released out of school, and it's awesome for me if I have class and our school day goes till 2:11, but if we have to leave at like 1:15, I have a sub in my room from 11. And so I can super prep for away games. I've got an afternoon prep every other day. So like tomorrow I'm done teaching at 11:55. I can be right out to the ballpark to work on the field and get ready to practice tomorrow. But most of our commutes are about 50 minutes to an hour. We don't have any overnights in league, but our 3A, which is a division lower than us, the 3A in the Northern Nevada, they travel nearly every other weekend. They will go to a school, play them Friday, spend the night, play 2 Saturday, and drive home because of the space and distance in between. And so it is different than Indiana, but Indiana, it doesn't matter what conference or league you're in. You get an automatic bid to the postseason, blind draw for the brackets, single elimination. And in Nevada, the thing that I like best is twofold. Our league matters. Our standings and rankings matter to seed the playoffs. If you're not, there's 10 teams. The 10th team is automatically eliminated. They don't have a shot. The 8 and 9 seed play a play-in game for the 8 seed. And then home field advantage. So every game that we're playing starting next week is for home field advantage. You want a regional home games. There are regional tournaments double elim. And so you've got to stress the depth. If you get into the losers bracket early, you're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 games on Friday. You got to win 2 games on Saturday to win the whole thing. So that's 7 games in one round. And so Indiana had 4 levels, 4 rounds to their tournament. Nevada just has 2, the regional and the state. Top 2 teams from the north, top 2 teams from the south, double elim for the state finals is awesome too. So I love the structure in Nevada. Travel is a little bit, but also like we have earlier game times than I had in Nevada. Before daylight savings, games start at 3:00 even. And so they do their best to get the games in. The transportation of it all has become a huge cost. And so that's where we've had to work really hard to fundraise. We're spending almost $30,000 this year in travel alone, flights, hotels, vans, cars. And so that's a huge reason why Triple T started, not to negate travel, but to try to pull costs from other places.
Yeah. Wow. That's that's pretty intense. I thought we had it bad here. That's not even close. Yeah, I mean to go to that. Yeah, I mean the cost of doing that obviously is huge. I know we trying out a fundraising thing together, where you get your own store with Pine Tar, and so far we've had a few people purchase stuff. You guys are getting 20% off the top for your efforts, and so
And for those coaches listening, I'm going to do the plug for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff does the work. He sets up the store for you. He integrates your colors and your logos into the designs better than I could do. It's set and forget. And even like on our end, even if it buys a couple dozen practice balls, it was something we didn't have before we started. And the thing that I think people are gravitating to is like stock fan gear can be bought, purchased anywhere. Like we've got our stock practice gear on now,
Yeah.
but like I just feel so freaking cool having our logo on Pine Tar apparel as if we're fancy and special because we are, Jeff. We
Yeah,
are.
you
And
guys
so
are. No,
um
it's cool.
yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't I have a couple schools here and I have you guys are kind of like my first few of really kind of doing this, but so far so good and I think it's going to be really great. So A, thank you for giving it a shot and B, I hope we can keep doing that together because yeah, I like the idea of supporting teams like yourself and the things you're trying to do because you're right, it does take a lot of dollars to do all the things it takes to play ball. Even just taking care of your field or like you said, practice balls, all those things, it all adds up, so
Yeah. Well, and just for instance, like to treat our field 105,000 square feet, to treat it with one round of fertilizer and one round of prodiamine, which is a pre-emergent, is $1,000.
wow.
And so like the money's got to come from somewhere. Do we need that? No, but am I like obsessed about it? Yes. So like I'm gonna make it happen. And
Yeah,
and truthfully, part of the what we get in return from the Pine Tar store is probably going to go into something field and program related that can benefit more than one person. And
right,
that is the benefit of having several avenues of fundraising. Coaches that are listening to this are not unfamiliar with the necessity for
right,
fundraising, but for how easy it was to get that store up on my end. Again, you have the hassle. You had to design the
right.
things and do the stuff. And for me, I think it's a no brainer. So if you are a coach considering, Pine Tar is a great place to start.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the plug with that. But yeah, it was one of my goals with even doing it was like because I know like there's so many different avenues you can go from a fundraising perspective. And like the last thing I want to do is inundate another coach with more stuff to do. So I was like, whatever I can do to make it super simple for you to and your kids and your families to maybe promote it, and then, instead of having some weird kind of structure too, is like, no, I think with just 20% off the top, da 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 da, it all makes
Hmm.
sense, and so I'm glad we're able to do that. So,
Me too.
well, I'd love to keep talking, but maybe we'll have to get together another time and do like round two with this. But
Part two, part three, part
yeah,
four. I will also consider this round one, you know,
yeah,
and I think you're going to find out it is a little easier to get through a full episode when you got a guest going back
oh,
and
for
forth,
sure,
you know?
for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, this is episode 6, like I said. So, it's getting better every time. But now, yeah, having gentlemen like yourself, and like I said, I think I was telling you before we got started, there's a few more I'd like to ask and whatever. But definitely would like to have you back some other time if you're willing, and
Absolutely.
keep checking in on what you're doing and what Tucker Talks Turf's doing. I really like watching those. Those are great episodes and like the fact you guys hit every little aspect from taking care of this to painting the outdoor or the outfield wall to I mean it's all in there. It's all in there. So I
Well,
like
and it's funny, like it's not new work, and there are thousands, hundreds, thousands of coaches doing the same amount of work. I just often just put a camera up and hit time lapse and talk about it when I get home. It's been
yeah,
it's
right.
been a lot of fun for an idea that started in the classroom from the kids.
Yeah.
The kids deserve a lot of credit because that started as a writing activity where I asked the kids what channel they would create, and then a kid asked me, and I said, "Oh, no doubt, I would just cut the grass." And 3 words, "Why don't you?" That was where it all started. A kid
Wow.
said, "Well, why don't you do that?" And months later, just months later, we're here. We've benefited a ton from it, and you and I have sprung a friendship out of it too. So I don't regret a thing.
Yeah.
Tucker Talks Turf on everything.
On
You could be
everything.
my 25th follower on Twitter or my 4,000 something on Instagram. It's crazy how it all works.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, again, thank you for your time. And that was great talking. And we'll definitely do this again soon. And for everybody else, episode 6 in the books. And we'll talk real soon.